know if anyone's here. This is the first time I've done a live. Doesn't look like it. So I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna paint. I'm also not sure if this gets saved as a video to my IGTV, so maybe it will. And then those of you who couldn't join me live and still wanted to check this out, will be able to check it out there. Going to be starting number 8 in my Reaching series. Right now I'm just prepping the canvas with a little bit of linseed oil. I did try to create a video yesterday that I could put on my newly created YouTube channel to kind of show how I go through this process to make this new series. It failed. So here I am. I'm going to try and do it on a live and just keep learning as I go. So the entire canvas is not going to be covered with oil. Can't really tell obviously from the view that you have, but it helps provide different textures as I start the painting. Hi Jess, it's been forever, how are you? Okay. I'm going to start with the red. The pieces look very different from start to finish. And yes, I do paint with my hands. I agree, it's been incredibly too long, like, I don't know, 10 years too long? I like painting with my hands because it really gives me a personal connection with the piece that I'm working on. And feeling the paint as it gets laid down on the canvas, it helps me understand the painting better. I'm not really sure how to better explain that. When I use brushes, I can't feel the thickness of the paint. I only have my visual sense. When I can feel the paint thinning out or staying thicker, it gives me a better idea of when to move on, when to stop pushing the paint, and when I need more or less. That is one of the reasons I really love painting with my hands, and just that tactile connection with the piece just brings it to this whole, I don't know, next level. All right, so between colors, I'm gonna start with yellow next. Between colors, I have to obviously clean off my glove or it will contaminate the yellow, which we're gonna end up doing anyway on the canvas because I'm going to be mixing the colors a bit. My plan is to put the yellow highlights on this side on the bottom and on this side on the top. So we'll be pulling the yellow down towards the bottom and pushing it up towards the top over here. So just gonna randomly put some blobs of yellow in and around here. And again, up here. Each piece I want it to look different, so I try not to use the same patterns, just kind of let it flow. And here we just start blending. You can see that really pretty orange coming out of here. I don't like to leave any of the white on the canvas showing, so If you see me working an area for a while, it's probably because there's just the smallest little pixel of white showing through. Right. The motion of these pieces goes north to south is the best way that I can describe it. So you'll see me pulling and pushing paint from the top of the canvas to the bottom a lot during this process. Right. And moving over here to do the same thing. Start blending, pulling some of this yellow down into the red. This beautiful fiery look is all going to change when I start putting the turquoise over top of it. I'm going to add a little more yellow. Just want there to be some of that bright lemony color in there. The paints that I'm using today, this yellow is by the Lukas Studio, and it is their lemon yellow primary color. The red that I use and the dark teal are both by Charvin Paris. The red color, bear with me a second here. Let's see how this works out. The red color is Napthol Red Deep. It's a very pretty color. It turns into a very nice pink when you're going for pink, which is not what we're doing today. All right. So there's a lot of red in this piece right now and a lot of yellow. Typically I start with less. So I am just going to take my paper towel and wipe down some of this excess paint because I don't want it to muddy up the turquoise too much. So we're just going to pull some of this color out. All right. Now for the fun. I'm going to start adding the turquoise and watching some of this blending kind of take place. Before that, one thing I do like to do, I like the centers of the canvas to be kind of bright. So I take some white, I'm just gonna plop some white in and around so that it will mix with the turquoise. All right, see how that goes. Everything for me is kind of an experiment. So even though I've done these paintings, this is my 8th one. They all look different and it's a different process every time. So now I'm going to start with the turquoise. I like to mix my straight colors with a little bit of extra linseed oil and some Gamsol just to thin it out a bit. And I like to do that in a mortar and pestle. I think that's what this thing is called. It just helps keep it in one place. I tend to be very messy, so when I try to thin paints out on my palette, they just kind of get everywhere. So I'm going to start by adding the dark turquoise. I'm going to start left to right so you guys can kind of see a little bit better. And start pulling it into this orange. Pick up some of that white. And mix right on the canvas. See some of this color transformation as you go. And I tend to wipe the excess paint off my gloves every time I pull my hand off the canvas. That way when I go back, I'm not contaminating the next piece of the canvas that I want to be working on. So now you can I'm not sure if you can see too well from there, but we've got the dark turquoise that fades into a green, into the yellows. It comes out here and starts getting more purple. And we're just going to keep working left to right for the moment. Pull this in at the bottom. Again, this is my first live, so if any of you guys have done lives in the past and have suggestions for improvement, feel free to reach out to my DMs and let me know, because I would really like to make this a more frequent part of my channel. Really get to know you guys better. Yeah, so please, if you have any suggestions for improvement, I am all ears. You can see where the white that I left on the canvas is kind of working in. Just going in circular motions. I mentioned a little bit earlier that I'm a stickler and I really don't like seeing any white left on my canvas. The little canvas dots showing through, so I work in a circular motion to kind of dig into that tooth of the canvas, so I can really get the paint into every groove that's in there. All right, so now, see, that's the contamination I'm talking about. I was bad and did not wipe my gloves, so now I've gotten this orange kind of in that purple area, which is not what I wanted. So I'm just gonna take a little part of my paper towel and wipe that off. That is one of the beauties of oils. They're a little more flexible in my opinion than acrylics. I've worked with both. I was afraid to work with oils for the longest time until my mentor and tutor kind of introduced me to oils and how to not be afraid of them. And now I haven't worked with acrylic for a while, and when I do, it's sort of foreign because it's been so long since I've worked with it. I just really am preferring the blending capability of oils. And being in Arizona today, by the way, it is going to be 114 degrees, yay. My oils dry pretty quickly, so for example, I was able to complete 4 pieces this week, which is sort of a record for me. Just going to continue to work this in. All right, now what I'm going to do, I've already gotten this side sort of done, and I'm into the middle. Before I get any further into the middle, I'm going to start working the directionality of this side to get that movement that I want to see. And then you're just going to pull that paint straight down, clean off the glove. This helps pull some of the paint off the canvas as well, so that as I keep working, it's not getting too saturated with paint. And as I pull the colors down and into one another, it gives the color variation that you can see in my I don't know if you can see in these pieces how the color variation just seamlessly slides down the piece. I'm just going to keep doing that. Pull this down, pull this down. All right, so I have a big blob of white by accident. All right, so now what's happened is there are some marks that are left on the canvas that I don't necessarily love. So the next thing that I do is I come and try to work them out. So here, down at the bottom, there's some white. So I take a little bit of extra color and dab it in there and just work it in and up. So now I'm going to take some of this color and work it back up the canvas. Replace some of the color where I lost it. Kind of move left to right to mix some of this other color in. And up. Creating that movement of up and down the canvas. Does anybody have any questions while I'm doing this? I am going to try and keep an eye on any questions that come in and make sure they're answered. If you leave before I have a chance to see an answer, hopefully I'm able to post this as a video on my IGTV, and you'll be able to see an answer at that time. All right, so now we've got this beautiful rainbow of color over here, and we're gonna keep working through the middle. Actually, I'm gonna start right to left now and meet in the middle. So bear with me, my back to you for a little bit here, blocking the canvas. Start filling in this corner. Really pulling the color in, working it so that I get all of these little pieces of the canvas filled in, blending as we go. Wipe some of that excess turquoise off my gloves. A little bit more into the center before I start pulling through that red and orange. I think I really want to grab some purple into the center. So bear with me. Just gonna put some of that purple through. mix right on the canvas. Look through, get some of that purple over here, and actually let's pull some of this green over too. I'm very messy when I paint. Anybody else is very messy when they paint? My studio is just paint everywhere and canvases. So now that I have full coverage, you'll see that I just kind of go through, keep blending through on the canvas, mixing all the colors, bringing trying to make this beautiful background for the reaching arms that I'm going to add to this. If you've been following my work lately, this is essentially my life right now, is creating this series. It almost feels like a niche. I really enjoy making them. They mean a lot to me. The reaching arms, very symbolic, reaching across, reaching out for people, especially during this crazy time where everyone is stuck in their homes, stuck on the other side of plexiglass, not being able to see their loved ones. So this series really has a lot of meaning for me. I'm gonna add some more white. Brighten up some more. Lighten up this purple bit just a little. See if we can leave some textures of white as I'm working through the rest of this piece. So just gonna blend down, up and down until I get the marks that I'm looking for, the blending marks. Pull some of this white through. When I'm blending, I don't always wipe my gloves between each stroke. That helps with the blending process, helps get the colors to be in different spots. And then I just go back and do some finer blending. The other thing that I really like about using my hands is I can really feel how my pressure of my hands controls the blending process, and it gives me just a little bit more control of what my marks look like, making sure that they blend the way I want them to, and when they don't quite blend the way I want them to, I can make adjustments in my strokes, in the pressure of my strokes. I'm just gonna kind of come over here with some of this white sort of back and forth. Really want to lighten up some of this purple, pull it into this bottom corner. And again, you see me not cleaning my gloves because I'm trying to work these colors together and blend them. All right. Do something similar over here as I try to lighten up this green area just a bit. Bring a little bit of pastel into this piece. A little bit of a lighter feel than some of my other pieces. Just really blend that in. We have this beautiful rainbow of swirls at the bottom of this piece. And now I'm going to work the painting so that I get the motion that I'm looking for with the up-down strokes. And unless anything major happens with my color, I'm just about done with the background. So, just gonna start from bottom to top. Bottom to top. As you go, you'll see that sometimes I change my motion. Sometimes I add a little bit more, and the reason that I'm adding more right now is because I've pulled a little too much paint out of this corner. So I'm just gonna blend it back in a little bit, cover up some of those white spots I accidentally created. Light pressure with my hands right now, just pulling up. And I'm going just across the bottom because I don't necessarily want these super light colors coming all the way to the top quite yet. So just blending that rainbow best that I can right now. I'm going to do the same on the top, kind of pull down, try to meet in the middle, continue from there. Should totally be wearing an apron. I'm pretty sure I just got paint on this shirt, and it's one of my favorite. This is my norm. Always forget to wear my apron. I think more of my shirts are covered in paint than are presentable for going out, which I guess it's good that I don't typically go out. So one thing that I mentioned a little bit ago is I want to try and leave some texture from the white paint into this piece. I'm going to weave it in by not necessarily smoothing out all of these sections where the white is pulled through. All right, so we're almost there. We just have a few pieces to clean up. Some uneven strokes at the top and at the bottom, which tends to be what happens. So bear with me a second. I am going to actually put on a fresh glove to do some of this finishing blending. It's very hot in my studio, so here's hoping that I can easily put this glove on. I find that it's a little difficult when your hands are sweaty and the gloves are small. Yes, this is me. Web fingers. All right. And that didn't work out so well. Take two. If I can't get this one on, then I'm just going to do it with my left hand, which is totally fine. Although, you probably guess, I'm right-handed. Oh yes, this one was much easier. All right. Now, since this left side is nearly finished, I'm going to start working it from the left. Just wrap this side up, pulling some of that color up and back down. that I like to do at the bottom is really kind of get those little individual marks to be more uniform. Sometimes what I do is I'll drag some of this paint over and then pull up, mixed gently. So everything blends seamlessly. I'm a very particular when it comes to my blending. So if I look like I keep going over the same spot, it's because I see just a tiny imperfection and need to make sure that it doesn't look that way, because it's my name that goes out on these pieces. I want to make sure they're the quality that I would expect. Beautiful rainbow piece that I don't really have another piece that has come out this way, and that's okay. These strokes at the bottom, pulling some of that blue back up into the purple. And then starting at the top, we're just going to come all the way down. Pull some of that purple back down. This purple up, really bottom to top, trying to blend through some of this color. I'm going to take too much away from the bottom, so pulling some of that paint back down. And I'm probably standing right in your way and you can't even see. Alright, I'll work some of this white in a little bit more. Just gonna pull some of this through. Going to finish blending the side, and then the exciting part, adding the red. A process getting through and making it look the way I want it to. If you guys aren't too bored watching. And I think I'm gonna leave some of these white streakies. I do just wanna clean up this top bit. This happens sometimes when you're very particular. A little of my perfectionism showing through. Those white blotches I didn't really want to mess with, but that is what happens sometimes, and that's okay. Let's clean up a few more of these little stray marks. Piece over, make sure I didn't leave any others. I think we're good. I think we're good. So normally on a piece, I let it sit and dry. However, in the interest of showing everyone sort of the full process, I'm gonna add the red. I'm gonna do it now. So, I tend to use a lot of red, and it comes right from the tube. I'm going to use this particular palette knife as well as this smaller one to lay the paint down and to get some texture into the paint. I have some red left over on my palette, so I'm going to start there. And I'm going to start at the top here, and I'm just going to very thickly in an pasta, in a very thick application, just start adding red. Cleaning off the palette knife between each use, because as I start to add the red, since the painting is still wet, it's blending some of the colors right onto my palette knife, which is not necessarily what I want. So adding it directly to the palette knife and letting it guide me itself, depending on how the marks come out as I go. We do two arms reaching here. Bring some of this up and in the middle. Love this color of red. Just gonna bring that sort of reaching down and across. I'm going to leave that for now. It's not done, but I may want to go in and use the smaller palette knife to put some finer details, some finer lines coming out. So let's move on to the bottom. Let's see, I'm gonna come up from the bottom. Let's try and reach the other arms. I'm just gonna play a little bit with this texture. See where it takes us. Sometimes it takes us to places I didn't expect, and that's okay. That's why each one of these pieces comes out different. And a little more paint. All right. Okay, let's not spill the oil. Be terrible. Studio is already a hot mess. Just add to it. All right. So, I'm going to change out the palette knife that I'm using. I'm actually going to put some of this red onto my palette. Start using this little guy to get some smaller details in. Add a little bit more paint. Arms reaching further, almost like flames. I want to add some extra paint into here. Curl it down and into the center a little bit more. Just keep take this a little further before we stop it. Through just a little bit. So it looks like these arms are reaching out to touch each other. Look at that. This time we're going to do 3 arms. I don't think I've ever done 3. That's okay too. Almost like tree branches reaching out. And then, if I'm looking at this one and I'm thinking about it, I think I'm gonna try and do some blending around that red. Don't always, but this time let's just see where it takes us. I'm gonna blend some of that red kind of out. I'm gonna blend some of this red kind of down. I want some of that purple a little bit more. Change some of this direction, right? Excess paint, I'm gonna take that right off. And up here, I'm gonna play a little bit like that as well. I'm gonna pull some of this red up. I'm gonna take some of this and blend it down. Move some of that excess paint. Blend it down a little bit more. And this, my friends, is how my paintings change personality throughout the process. All right. Sometimes when I do this, I shoot myself in the foot because it gets a little harder to blend since I can't fully go in that north to south blending mode that you saw me do earlier. That's okay. So this side's a little bit more dry, so I'm going to start over here. We're just going to pull this paint kind of up and over, blend to make some brownish purple, and there goes my shirt again, right into the paint. That will teach me to wear my apron, right? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'll just keep buying Walmart shirts so that I can afford to paint on them by accident. Alright, so another thing that I do when I'm blending kind of down and through, if I need to, I'll add some other colors back into the piece if I feel I need to. For now, just gonna blend. Trying to pull some of this lighter greenish blue up through. We're that in and make sort of a reddish brown. And work it down. Now this bottom has become sort of green, less turquoise, so what I'm gonna do is add some turquoise back. Hi Linda, thank you. I decided it was time to try and do a live. I'm running out of paper towels. Alright, adding some turquoise back into this bottom. It also adds a little more paint to the piece as it's starting to dry. Allow me to keep working it. Just pull it up. Get a little bit more turquoise to that green now. It's a process, y'all. It's a process, but it's a good process. All right, so I'm liking how that looks. Now we just need to pull through on some of this section. All right, and there's just this little chunk. There we go. Now, I see I'm just pulling up a little bit here, blending a little bit more. I'll show you what I plan to do once I get this a little evened out here. Do not quite need to bring this down so far, but you know what? Happy mistakes. Blend it in. Pulling down and up to really get those colors mixed. Okay, then I'm going to take my palette knife and right along the edge here there's a lot of strokes that I don't really want. I don't like the way they look, so I'm going to pull some of this red texture right over that. Just texture that out so you don't even know that there was part of the painting at one time I didn't like. Keep going over and doing that until I get all the texture that I really want to see in this piece. Take some of this back up. It's like it's wanting to come right off the canvas, right into the dark. I might add a little bit more yellow to there, I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But for now, we're gonna move over here and we're gonna just start blending this red. Kind of down, out, bringing out some of that purple. Being careful not to totally decimate the other pieces. A little more red in here than I want, so I'm just going to pull some of that off with my paper towel. who's still here with me, Linda was my first collector. She has a couple of my pieces, and I'm extremely grateful to her. And she's one of my biggest cheerleaders, and I can't say how much I appreciate her. She's an amazing friend and supporter, and I just really thought it would be nice to thank her publicly. So anyone who ends up seeing this will know. All right, so once again, we're just gonna kind of blend these colors, pull them across a little bit, get some of that purple. Here, get some of that green going down here, and here we are again, back into the left where I need to blend some more, and that's okay. That is just the process. And I'm just gonna pull that down, pull that down. Be very careful. Not worrying too much about making sure it's super perfect by the red. Because we're going to do that same thing and bring some of that texture down to cover up any of those imperfections. So I definitely created some, what I would consider imperfections by blending some of these reds in. So now we're just gonna correct. And then take a nice step back from the piece and see if we feel like it's done. Blending a little bit more. Bear with me. Till it's the way I like to see it. And we're just going to take, move this red. Like how blunt that is, so I'm just going to keep working it a little bit till it reaches out. Add a little bit of paint to see where it goes. There we go. Picking this up a little bit. To stand on, so to speak. There we go, and I think I like that way those arms look. And the last thing I need to do, that I want to do, is blend a little bit down in this corner here. It's a little messy for my liking, so we're just going to take some of this red, blend it down. For anyone who's joined recently, please feel free to throw some questions up for me. I'm happy to answer any questions, art related or not. And if they don't get answered before you have to leave the live, I'm hoping to figure out how to publish this to my IGTV. So the answers you'll be able to go back and get them. So just kind of pulling some of this red down through. I love you too, Linda. I miss hanging out. just clean this up a little bit and add a little bit of turquoise right at sort of that dividing point to kind of blend it a little easier.